A city artist rebuilding her life meets a humble flower seller with a secret legacy. But when love blooms, can trust survive buried truths? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning. Sun warmed Serena Holt's face as she walked down Maple Street, clutching her sketchbook to her chest. 6 months back in the city, and she still wasn't used to the noise, the rush, the crowds. After 5 years in the quiet countryside caring for her father, everything here felt too fast, too loud. Just breathe, she whispered to herself, adjusting the strap of her messenger bag. At 27, Serena had hoped to be further along in her career by now. The years spent as her father's caretaker had put her dreams on hold. Now she was back, trying to rebuild her life as a freelance illustrator, one small job at a time. She stopped at the corner coffee shop, ordered her usual, a simple black coffee, and continued her walk to the small art studio she rented 3 days a week. That's when she saw it again, the flower stand that had caught her eye every day for the past 2 weeks. It wasn't fancy, just a wooden cart with buckets of fresh flowers, their colors bright against the gray concrete of the city. But there was something special about it, something that made her slow down every time she passed. "Good morning," called a friendly voice. "You walk by every day, but you never stop." Serena turned to see a man with kind eyes and a warm smile. His hands were stained with soil, and he wore a simple green apron over jeans and a white t-shirt. "I've been meaning to," she said, suddenly feeling shy. "Your flowers are beautiful." "I'm Lucas," he said, extending his hand, then pulling it back with a laugh. "Sorry, dirty hands, hazard of the job." "I'm Serena." She smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest she hadn't felt in a long time. "Do you own this stand?" "I do," he nodded, looking around at his modest business with obvious pride. "It's not much, but it's mine." "I think it's wonderful," Serena said, meaning it. In a city where everything seemed to be about who you knew and how much money you made, there was something refreshingly real about this man and his flowers. Lucas studied her face for a moment. "You look like someone who appreciates beauty in small things." He reached for a single yellow daffodil. "For you, on the house." "Oh, I couldn't." "Please," he insisted. "Yellow for creativity. I can tell you're an artist from that sketchbook." "You're holding so tight." Serena accepted the flower, touched by the gesture. "Thank you. How did you know I'm an artist?" "The way you look at things," Lucas said simply. "You notice details others miss." She felt seen in a way she hadn't in years. "I should go. I have a client meeting in 20 minutes. Will you stop by tomorrow?" Lucas asked, his voice hopeful. Serena nodded, already knowing she would. In her small apartment that evening, Serena placed the daffodil in a glass of water and set it by her window. The yellow petals seemed to glow in the fading light. Her phone rang, the familiar ringtone telling her it was her mother calling. "Hi, Mom," she answered, settling onto her worn sofa. "How's my baby girl?" Vivian Holt's voice was warm, but tinged with the worry that had become a permanent fixture since Serena's father had abandoned them 20 years ago. "I'm good. Busy with work." "Any new clients? Ones that actually pay on time?" Serena sighed. "Yes. Mum, I'm managing. I just worry. That city will chew you up if you let it. Not everyone has your good heart, Serena." "I know, Mum." Serena's eyes drifted to the daffodil. "I met someone today." There was a pause on the line. "A man?" "Just someone nice. He sells flowers on my street." "A flower seller?" Her mother's tone shifted. "Serena, after everything you've been through, you need stability, security." "Mom, it's not like that. We just talked." "That's how it starts. Remember what happened with Marcus? All charm and promises, then gone the minute things got tough with your father." The memory stung. Marcus had been her college boyfriend, full of big talk about standing by her side. But when she'd had to leave school to care for her dying father, he'd lasted exactly 2 months before deciding it was too much. Too much reality. Too much responsibility. "Lucas isn't Marcus," Serena said, though she barely knew him. "Men like your father, men like Marcus, they talk a good game, but when real life happens, they disappear. Just be careful with your heart, baby." That's all I'm saying. After hanging up, Serena stared at the daffodil for a long time. Her mother meant well, but her warnings were colored by her own heartbreak. Vivian Holt had loved Serena's father with everything she had, only to watch him walk away when he got a better offer from a richer woman. Serena picked up her sketchbook and began to draw the daffodil, its simple beauty calming her mind. She wouldn't let her mother's fears become her own, but she wouldn't be naive either. The next morning, Serena found herself walking a little faster toward the flower stand. Lucas was there, arranging roses in a bucket. He looked up as she approached, his face brightening. "You came back," he said, sounding genuinely pleased. "I said I would." Serena fingered the strap of her bag. "How much for one of those pink roses?" "For you?" $3. He selected a perfect bloom and wrapped it in paper. "How's the daffodil?" "It's beautiful. I drew it last night." Before she could second-guess herself, she opened her sketchbook and showed him. Lucas stared at the drawing, his expression one of wonder. "You're incredibly talented, Serena. It's just a sketch. No, it's more than that. You captured its essence." He handed her the rose. "What kind of art do you do?" "For work, I mean." "I'm a freelance illustrator, mostly for magazines, sometimes books. It's not steady, but I love it." "That's what matters," Lucas said, "loving what you do." A woman interrupted them, asking about flower prices. Serena took that as her cue to leave, but Lucas caught her eye as she turned to go. "Coffee sometime?" he asked. "There's a little place around the corner." Serena hesitated, her mother's warning echoing in her mind. But there was something about Lucas that felt genuine. "I'd like that." Their coffee date turned into dinner the following week. Lucas closed his stand early, and they walked to a small Italian restaurant tucked away on a side street. "How did you get into the flower business?" Serena asked as they settled into their booth. Lucas took a sip of water, his eyes thoughtful. "I grew up around plants. My family, they had a garden." "Must have been some garden to inspire this career," she teased. A shadow crossed his face, so brief she almost missed it. "It was special. What about you? How did you become an illustrator?" Serena recognized the deflection but didn't push. Everyone had parts of their past they didn't want to discuss right away. "I've drawn since I was little. My dad used to bring me sketchbooks instead of dolls." She smiled at the memory. "I was in art school when he got sick, cancer. I moved home to take care of him." "That couldn't have been easy." "It wasn't, but I don't regret it." "We had 5 more. Years together." She twisted her napkin. "He died last year. That's when I came back to the city." Lucas reached across the table and covered her hand with his. His touch was warm, comforting. "I'm sorry, Serena." "Thank you." She took a deep breath. "Anyway, now I'm trying to rebuild my career. It's slow going, but I'm getting there." "I have no doubt you will," Lucas said with such conviction that Serena found herself believing it too. They ate. Serena found herself relaxing more than she had in years. Lucas was easy to talk to. He listened when she spoke, really listened, and he never tried to impress her with stories of wealth or success like so many men in the city did. After dinner, he walked her home, stopping a respectful distance from her building. "I had a wonderful time," he said. "So did I." Serena surprised herself by meaning it completely. "Can I see you again?" She nodded, and when he leaned in to kiss her cheek, she turned her face at the last moment so his lips met hers instead. The kiss was gentle, brief, but it sent warmth spreading through her chest. "Good night, Serena," he whispered. "Good night, Lucas." As she watched him walk away, Serena touched her lips, smiling. For the first time since coming back to the city, she felt like she might be exactly where she was supposed to be. Over the next few weeks, Serena and Lucas fell into a comfortable routine. She would stop by his flower stand in the mornings, and he would always have a single bloom for her, each with its own meaning that he would explain. Evenings were spent walking through the city parks, eating at small restaurants, or sometimes just sitting on a bench talking. "Tell me more about your family," Serena said one evening as they watched the sunset from a hill in the city park. Lucas stiffened slightly. "Not much to tell. My parents had high expectations. I chose a different path. They didn't approve of the flower stand," he gave a short laugh. That's putting it mildly. My father wanted me to follow in his footsteps. Corporate life, suits, board meetings. That's not me. So you rebelled with flowers? Serena teased, trying to lighten the mood. Something like that. He plucked a blade of grass, twirling it between his fingers. What about your mom? You talk about your dad a lot, but rarely her. Serena sighed. My mom is protective. After my dad left us for another woman, a rich woman, she's never trusted men with money or ambition. Is that why you like me? Because I'm just a simple flower seller. His tone was joking, but Serena sensed a seriousness behind the question. I like you because you're kind, she said honestly. And real, there's no pretense with you, Lucas. That's rare in this city. He looked away, and for a moment, she thought she saw guilt in his eyes. But then he turned back with a smile, and the moment passed. I like you too, Serena, more than I expected to. A month into their relationship, Serena invited Lucas to her apartment for dinner. She spent the afternoon cleaning her small space, trying to make it presentable. It wasn't much, a one-bedroom with second-hand furniture and bare walls, but it was hers. She'd just put pasta on to boil when her phone rang. It was Marissa, one of her regular clients. Serena, I've been trying to reach you all day. Sorry, I was busy. What's up? I've got an amazing opportunity for you. The editor of City Life magazine wants to feature your work in their centennial issue. Serena nearly dropped the phone. City Life was one of the biggest magazines in the city. Are you serious? Absolutely. They're doing a special feature on Grey Conservatory. You know that massive botanical garden uptown? They want your illustrations to accompany the article. Serena's heart raced. This was exactly the kind of break she'd been hoping for. That's incredible! The pay is great too. $10,000 for the series. The amount made Serena's knees weak. That kind of money would give her breathing room for months. There's just one catch, Marissa continued. They need the illustrations in 3 weeks for their centennial gala issue. I can do it, Serena said immediately. I'll make it work. Perfect. I'll email you the details. Oh, and Serena, this could be huge for your career. After hanging up, Serena did a happy dance around her tiny kitchen. Finally, things were looking up. Her career was gaining momentum, and she'd met a wonderful man who made her feel valued and seen. When Lucas arrived with a bouquet of wildflowers, Serena threw her arms around him. What's this for? He laughed, returning her embrace. I got an amazing job offer. A feature in City Life magazine. That's wonderful. Lucas spun her around. I knew you could do it. What's the feature about? It's for their centennial issue. I'll be illustrating an article about Grey Conservatory. Lucas froze mid-spin, his smile faltering. Grey Conservatory? Yes. Apparently it's this huge botanical garden uptown. Have you been there? He set her down gently, his expression unreadable. I've heard of it. Well, I'll need to visit for research. Maybe you could come with me, since you know so much about flowers? I don't think that's a good idea. His voice was suddenly distant. Why not? I have the stand. It's hard to get away. He forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. But this is your moment. Let's celebrate. Throughout dinner, Serena noticed Lucas seemed distracted. He laughed at her jokes, but his mind seemed elsewhere. When he left that night, his goodbye kiss felt rushed, almost guilty. As she cleared the dishes, Serena couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. It was as if the mention of Grey Conservatory had flipped a switch in Lucas. But why? Would a botanical garden bother him so much? She shook her head, telling herself she was overthinking things. Lucas was probably just tired. Tomorrow everything would be back to normal, but as she fell asleep that night, doubt had already planted its seed in her heart. The next morning, Serena stopped by Lucas's flower stand as usual, but he wasn't there. Instead, a young woman was arranging flowers in his place. Excuse me, is Lucas around? Serena asked. Mr. Grey? No, he called in and asked me to cover for him today. Serena frowned. Mr. Grey? The woman looked confused. Yes, Lucas Grey. He owns this stand. Lucas Grey? Serena repeated, the name ringing a bell she couldn't quite place. Yes, ma'am. Is there something I can help you with? No, thank you. Serena walked away, puzzled. Lucas had never mentioned his last name was Grey. It was an odd coincidence, given her new assignment. Gray Conservatory. Lucas Gray. She pulled out her phone and did a quick search for Gray Conservatory. The website loaded, showing acres of stunning gardens, greenhouse domes, and an announcement about the upcoming centennial celebration. Scrolling down, she found the About Us section and clicked. The page loaded to reveal a family photo, a stern-looking older man, an elegant woman, and a younger man with familiar eyes. Lucas. The caption read, "The Gray family, Harold, Eleanor, and Lucas Gray, heirs to the Gray Conservatory legacy." Serena stared at the phone, her hands shaking. Lucas wasn't just a flower seller with soil-stained hands. He was Lucas Gray, heir to the largest botanical garden in the city. He had lied to her. All this time he had pretended to be someone he wasn't. As the truth sank in, Serena felt the familiar ache of betrayal bloom in her chest. It was happening again, just like her father. Just like Marcus, another man who couldn't be honest with her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "Sorry I missed you this morning. Can we meet tonight? I need to talk to you." Serena turned off her phone without replying. She needed time to think, to process this revelation. As she walked to her studio, her mother's warnings echoed in her mind. Money ruins good men. Don't let it ruin you. Had Lucas been playing her all along? Was their entire relationship built on a lie? The seed of doubt that had been planted the night before now grew into full-blown fear. Serena had opened her heart again, only to discover that the man she was falling for wasn't who he claimed to be. And now she had to illustrate a feature about his family's legacy, a job she couldn't afford to turn down. Life had a cruel sense of humor sometimes. Serena sat in her studio, staring at the blank pages of her sketchbook. 2 hours had passed, and she hadn't drawn a single line. Her mind kept returning to Lucas, to the lies he had told her. Her phone had buzzed 5 times with texts from him. She hadn't read any of them. A knock at the studio door startled her. She opened it to find Marissa, her agent, holding a large envelope. "I thought you'd want these right away," Marissa said, stepping inside. "Reference photos from Gray Conservatory for your illustrations." "Thanks," Serena said, taking the envelope without enthusiasm. Marissa frowned. "Are you okay? This morning you were over the moon about this job." "I'm fine," Serena forced a smile. "Just processing." "Well, process quickly. The deadline is tight, and this could open so many doors for you." After Marissa left, Serena emptied the envelope onto her desk. Dozens of glossy photos spilled out, sweeping gardens, exotic flowers, elegant pathways, and in several of them, there he was, Lucas, dressed in tailored suits, shaking hands with important people, standing proud amid acres of flowers that dwarfed his little street stand. One photo in particular caught her eye. Lucas at what appeared to be a formal event, his arm around a stunning blonde woman in an evening gown. They were laughing, comfortable with each other. The caption read, "Lucas Gray and fiancée Victoria Winters at last year's spring gala. Fiancée." The word hit Serena like a physical blow. Not only had he lied about who he was, but he was engaged to someone else. She sank into her chair, tears burning her eyes. Her mother had been right all along. Men with money couldn't be trusted. Her phone buzzed again. This time she picked it up. Lucas's message read, "Serena, please, I need to explain. Meet me at my stand at 6. I'll tell you everything." She typed back a single word. "Why?" His response came immediately. "Because what we have is real, even if my name isn't what you thought." Serena stared at the message for a long time. Finally, she replied, "I'll be there, but I'm not promising to stay." At exactly 6 p.m., Serena approached the flower stand. Lucas was waiting, his face drawn with worry. When he saw her, relief washed over his features. "You came," he said softly. "I want answers, Lucas. Or is it Mr. Gray?" Her voice was cold, distant. He winced. "I deserve that. Can we walk? I don't want to talk here." They walked in silence to a small park nearby. Lucas led her to a bench beneath a flowering cherry tree, but Serena remained standing. "Who are you, really?" she demanded. Lucas took a deep breath. "My name is Lucas Gray. My family owns Gray Conservatory. And you didn't think that was worth mentioning? All those times I talked about my work, my struggles to make ends meet, you just sat there pretending to be a simple flower seller?" "I wasn't pretending," Lucas said, his eyes pleading. "This stand, these flowers, they're real, they're mine." "And the woman, Victoria, your fiancée?" His eyes widened. "How did you—" "Reference photos for my job," Serena cut in. "There you were, looking very cozy with—" "Your fiancé," ex-fiancé, Lucas corrected. "That photo is from last year. Victoria and I broke up 6 months ago. Why should I believe anything you say now?" "Because I've never lied about how I feel about you, Serena." Lucas ran a hand through his hair. "Yes, I didn't tell you my full name or about my family. But everything else, every moment we shared, every conversation, that was all real. Why the secrecy? Are you ashamed of selling flowers on the street? Is this some kind of rich boy rebellion?" "No." Lucas stood up, frustration evident in his voice. "It's more complicated than that." "Then explain it to me." Lucas took a deep breath. "A year ago, there was a scandal. My father, he was caught embezzling money from the conservatory's foundation. Millions meant for conservation efforts, research grants, gone." Serena frowned. "I don't remember hearing about this. It was kept quiet. My father paid a lot of money to make sure of that." Lucas's voice grew bitter. "The board wanted to fire him, but because our family founded the conservatory, they couldn't. Not without a fight. What does this have to do with you pretending to be poor?" "I'm not pretending to be poor," Lucas said, an edge to his voice. "After I discovered what my father had done, I confronted him. He told me to mind my own business, that sometimes corners had to be cut to maintain our lifestyle." Lucas sat back down, shoulders slumped. "I couldn't be part of that. I walked away from the family business, from my trust fund, from all of it. I started the flower stand with my own savings, because flowers are the only thing I've ever truly loved. Well, until I met you." Serena felt her resolve wavering, but she held firm. "If that's true, why hide it from me? Why not just tell me?" "Because the moment people find out I'm a Gray, everything changes." His eyes met hers, filled with sadness. "They either want something from me or they assume I'm just like my father, corrupt, entitled, dishonest. With you, I was just Lucas, a guy who sells flowers, a guy who could fall in love without worrying about ulterior motives." "Fall in love?" Serena echoed, her heart skipping despite her anger. "Yes, Serena, I'm falling in love with you." Lucas reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "I was going to tell you everything tonight. When I heard about your assignment, I knew I couldn't keep it secret any longer." "Convenient timing," Serena said, though with less bite than before. "I know it looks that way, but please believe me, I never meant to hurt you." Serena stood silent for a long moment, processing everything. "I need time to think, Lucas. This is a lot." "I understand," he said, disappointment clear in his voice. "But please know, the man you've been spending time with, that's the real me, not the Lucas Gray in those photos." As Serena turned to leave, Lucas called after her. "The Centennial Gala is in 3 weeks. I'll be there. I hope you will be too." Back in her apartment, Serena called the one person she knew would understand her confusion. "He lied to me, Mom," she said as soon as Vivian answered. "Who lied? That flower boy?" "He's not just a flower seller. He's Lucas Gray. His family owns Gray Conservatory." There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "The Gray family? As in, one of the richest families in the city?" "Yes." "Oh, Serena." Her mother's voice grew concerned. "This is exactly what I warned you about. Men with money think they can play with people's lives just like your father did. Lucas says he walked away from all that. That he started the flower stand on his own because he didn't agree with how his father ran the business. And you believe him?" Serena hesitated. "I don't know what to believe anymore." "Listen to me, baby girl. Money ruins good men. Don't let it ruin you. Your father was a decent man until wealth and power tempted him away from us. Lucas isn't Dad. All men are your father when money's involved," Vivian said firmly. "Promise me you'll be careful." After hanging up, Serena looked at the wildflowers Lucas had brought her just yesterday. They were still fresh, still beautiful, just like her feelings for him. But could she trust those feelings now? Could she trust him? The next morning, Serena forced herself to focus on work. She visited Grey Conservatory, notebook in hand, determined to separate her professional obligations from her personal turmoil. The gardens were even more magnificent than the photos suggested. Acres of meticulously maintained landscapes, rare flowers from around the world, glass conservatories housing tropical plants that had no business thriving in this climate. It was breathtaking, and it was Lucas's birthright. As she sketched preliminary ideas, an older woman approached her. Elegantly dressed with silver hair swept into a perfect chignon, she carried herself with unmistakable authority. "You must be Serena Holt," the woman said. "I'm Eleanor Grey, Lucas's mother." Serena nearly dropped her sketchbook. "Mrs. Grey, it's nice to meet you." "Is it?" Eleanor's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I understand you're the illustrator for the centennial feature." "Yes, ma'am. And also the young woman who's been occupying my son's time these past weeks." Serena straightened her shoulders. "I didn't know who Lucas was until yesterday." "Yes, he has this ridiculous notion that selling flowers on a street corner somehow makes him more authentic." Eleanor's tone made it clear what she thought of that idea. A Grey on a street corner. His father is mortified. Lucas seems to enjoy it. Lucas is going through a phase. He'll come to his senses eventually. Eleanor looked Serena up and down, her assessment cool and calculating. "He always does." "What does that mean?" "It means, Miss Holt, that my son has a habit of, shall we say, slumming it when he's feeling rebellious, but he always remembers who he is eventually." The implication was clear. Serena was just another act of rebellion. "If you'll excuse me, Mrs. Grey, I have work to do." Serena gathered her things, determined not to show how deeply the woman's words had cut. "Of course. I look forward to seeing your illustrations. Lucas speaks highly of your talent." Eleanor turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Miss Holt. The gala is a black tie affair. I do hope you have something suitable to wear." After Eleanor left, Serena sat on a nearby bench, her hands shaking. Lucas's mother had just confirmed her worst fears. To the Greys, she was nothing more than a temporary distraction, a phase in Lucas's rebellion against his family. Just as she was about to leave, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Don't believe everything my mother says. She doesn't speak for me. Lucas." Serena looked around but saw no sign of him. How did he know about her conversation with Eleanor? Another text came through. "I have people who keep me informed about what happens at the conservatory. My mother can be difficult." Despite herself, Serena smiled. Then she remembered she was still angry with him and quickly frowned again. "Why? Should I trust anything your family says or you?" She texted back. "You shouldn't. Trust what you feel, what you know about me from our time together." Serena put her phone away without responding. She didn't know what to feel anymore. For the next week, Serena threw herself into her work. The illustrations for Grey Conservatory were coming along beautifully, perhaps her best work yet. Each day she visited a different section of the gardens, sketching, taking notes, absorbing the beauty of the place, and each day she found a single flower waiting for her at whatever spot she chose to work. A lily by the koi pond, a rose near the English garden, an orchid by the tropical greenhouse. No note, just the flower. She knew they were from Lucas, though she never saw him. One afternoon, as she sketched by the Japanese garden, a tall man in an expensive suit approached her. Unlike Eleanor Grey's refined elegance, this man's presence felt imposing, almost threatening. "Miss Holt," he said without introduction. "I'm Harold Grey, Lucas's father." Serena stood, suddenly nervous. "Mr. Grey, my wife tells me you've been spending time with my son. We've been seeing each other, yes." Harold's expression was unreadable. "Do you know why Lucas is selling flowers on a street corner instead of running the business he was born to inherit? He told me about the scandal, about the money you took." Harold's jaw tightened. "Did he also tell you that his precious flower stand exists because I allow it to? That the permit for that corner belongs to Grey Enterprises?" Serena hadn't known that. "No. Lucas thinks he's making some grand moral stand, but he's playing at independence while still benefiting from family connections. Harold straightened his already impeccable tie. He's naive, always has been. I think he's principled. Serena countered, finding her courage. He walked away from wealth and privilege because he believed it was the right thing to do. Harold laughed, a cold sound with no humor. Is that what he told you? That he gave everything up? Ask him about his trust fund sometime. Ask him who pays for his apartment. What do you want from me, Mr. Gray? I want you to understand what you're dealing with. My son likes to pretend. He's not one of us, but he is. When things get difficult, he'll choose comfort over principle, just like he did with Victoria. Victoria? His ex-fiancée? Harold smiled, seeing he'd struck a nerve. Yes, she's the daughter of my biggest investor. Their engagement was convenient for everyone. Why are you telling me this? Because I don't like to see my son waste his time or yours. Harold handed her a business card. The conservatory can always use talented artists. When you're ready for a real career, call me. As Harold walked away, Serena felt sick to her stomach. Was Lucas's entire story a lie? Was he still living off his family's money while pretending to be independent? And what had really happened with Victoria? That evening, Serena sat in her apartment surrounded by sketches for the centennial feature. Her phone lay on the table, Lucas's number displayed on the screen. She'd been debating whether to call him for hours. Finally, she hit dial. Serena, he answered immediately, his voice full of hope. I've missed you. We need to talk, she said, keeping her tone neutral. I met your father today. There was a pause. I'm sorry about that. What did he say? Enough to make me question everything. You've told me. Serena took a deep breath. Are you still living off your trust fund, Lucas? Do you still have an apartment paid for by your family? It's not that simple. It is that simple. Either you walked away from everything like you said, or you didn't. Lucas sighed. I walked away from the business, from my position at the conservatory. Yes, I still have my trust fund. It was set up when I was born. I can't get rid of it even if I wanted to. And your apartment? It's mine. I bought it with money from my trust before all this happened. I could sell it, but why would I? That wouldn't change anything. Serena felt tears building. What about Victoria? Your father said your engagement was convenient. Of course he did. Lucas's voice hardened. Victoria's father is one of our biggest investors. Our engagement was arranged practically from childhood. When I left the business, she broke it off. She was engaged to the heir of Gray Conservatory, not a flower seller. So it wasn't your choice? No, it was. I just beat her to it. Lucas paused. Serena, I know how this looks. My father is trying to drive a wedge between us because he thinks you're keeping me from returning to the family business. Am I? No. My decision to leave was made long before I met you, but you make me believe I made the right choice. Serena wiped away a tear. I don't know what to believe anymore, Lucas. Believe in us. In what we had before you knew my last name. I need more time. The gala is in 2 weeks. Will you at least meet me there? One chance to show you who I really am. All of me, no more secrets. Serena thought about it. I'll be there anyway for work, but I'm not promising anything beyond that. That's all I ask, Lucas said, relief evident in his voice. And Serena? Thank you for calling. After hanging up, Serena stared at her sketches of Gray Conservatory. The gardens were so beautiful, so peaceful. How could something so lovely be at the center of so much deception and pain? The next morning, Serena was surprised to find Lucas at his flower stand when she passed by. Hi, he said simply. Hi, she replied, keeping her distance. I'm not here to pressure you, Lucas assured her. I missed my flowers, and I missed seeing you walk by. Despite herself, Serena felt a flutter in her chest. Your mother thinks I'm just part of your rebellion. My mother thinks everything I do is rebellion. Lucas selected a small white flower and held it out to her. A daisy, for loyalty and true love. Serena hesitated, then took it. Your father thinks you'll choose comfort over principle when things get tough. My father has never understood me. Lucas's eyes were steady, honest. I'm not asking you to choose right now, Serena, just to keep an open mind. I'll try. As she walked away, clutching the daisy, Serena realized that despite all the doubts and questions, her heart still leapt at the sight of him, and that scared her more than anything. Days passed. Serena continued her work on the illustrations, avoiding both Lucas and his parents. The deadline was approaching, and she needed to focus. One afternoon, as she was finishing the final sketches in her studio, there was a knock at the door. It wasn't Lucas's knock. She would have recognized that. She opened the door to find a stylish young woman with perfectly highlighted blonde hair and designer clothes. Even without the reference photos, Serena would have known who she was, Victoria. "Winters?" the woman said, extending a manicured hand. "May I come in?" Stunned, Serena stepped aside. Victoria glided in, looking around the modest studio with poorly concealed disdain. "What can I do for you, Miss Winters?" Serena asked, her guard up. "Please, call me Victoria." She settled onto Serena's worn sofa as if it were a throne. "I wanted to meet the woman who's captured Lucas's attention." "Why?" Victoria smiled, a practiced expression that didn't reach her eyes. "Curiosity, partly, and concern for an old friend. You and Lucas were engaged." "We were. Since we were practically children." Victoria examined her perfect nails. "Our families have been intertwined for generations. The Greys provide the name and prestige, the Winters provide the financial backing." "Lucas said you broke off the engagement when he left the family business. Is that what he told you?" Victoria laughed lightly. "How like Lucas to rewrite history. I broke it off because I found him in bed with my best friend." Serena felt like she'd been slapped. "What?" "Oh, didn't he mention that part?" Victoria's expression was all false sympathy. "Lucas has always had impulse control issues, especially when he's feeling trapped or rebellious." "I don't believe you," Serena said, but doubt had crept into her voice. "Believe what you want, darling. But ask yourself this. Why would a man born to run one of the most prestigious botanical gardens in the country choose to sell flowers on a street corner? It's not nobility, it's attention-seeking." Victoria stood, smoothing her immaculate dress. "Lucas will tire of this phase, just like he tires of everything. And when he does, he'll come back to the world he belongs in." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because contrary to what you might think, I don't hate Lucas. I care about him, and this," she gestured around the studio, "isn't real life for him. It's a vacation from responsibility." After Victoria left, Serena sat in stunned silence. Could Lucas really have cheated on his fiancée? Was this whole flower seller persona just another way of avoiding responsibility? Her phone buzzed with a text from Lucas. "I saw Victoria leaving your studio." Whatever she said, please let me explain. Serena turned off her phone. She had illustrations to finish and a gala to prepare for. Whatever the truth was about Lucas Gray, she would face it after her work was done. But as she bent over her drawings, her tears fell onto the paper, blurring the carefully rendered images of the gardens Lucas's family had built. The night of the Gray Conservatory Centennial Gala arrived with perfect early summer weather. Stars dotted the clear sky above the glass domes of the conservatory, which had been transformed for the evening with thousands of twinkling lights. Serena stood at the entrance, clutching her portfolio of finished illustrations. Her simple black dress, the nicest one she owned, felt woefully inadequate among the designer gowns and custom tuxedos of the other guests. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, smoothing her hands over her dress. "Just deliver the illustrations and leave." She hadn't spoken to Lucas in the 2 weeks since Victoria's visit. He had called and texted daily, but Serena had focused solely on finishing her work. Now, with the illustrations complete and her professional obligations nearly fulfilled, she couldn't avoid him any longer. Taking a deep breath, she stepped through the grand entrance of the conservatory. The main atrium had been converted into a ballroom. Crystal chandeliers hung from the glass ceiling, casting a warm glow over the crowd below. A string quartet played softly in one corner, while waiters in white gloves circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. "Miss Holt!" "Marissa!" Her agent waved from across the room. "Over here." Serena made her way through the crowd, conscious of the curious glances directed her way. Had word spread about her connection to Lucas? "You look wonderful," Marissa said, though her eyes suggested otherwise. "Are those the final illustrations?" "Yes, all finished." Serena handed over the portfolio. "The editor has the digital files, but I thought he might want to see the originals." "Perfect. Let me introduce you to some people. This could be a big night for your career." As Marissa led her through the crowd, Serena scanned the room for Lucas but didn't see him. Part of her was relieved, another part disappointed. "Ah, there's James Wright, the editor-in-chief," Marissa said, steering Serena toward a distinguished-looking man in a tuxedo. "Miss Holt," Mr. Wright greeted her with a firm handshake. "Your illustrations are extraordinary. They've captured the essence of the conservatory beautifully." "Thank you, sir. In fact," he continued, "we're featuring your work prominently in the centennial issue, full-page spreads. I hope you're prepared for the attention this will bring to your career." Serena's heart raced with excitement. "That's more than I expected. Talent deserves recognition." Wright nodded toward someone behind her. "And I believe the man responsible for commissioning your work has arrived." Serena turned to find Lucas standing a few feet away. He looked nothing like the flower seller she'd fallen for. Dressed in a perfectly tailored tuxedo, hair neatly styled, he exuded the quiet confidence of a man born to wealth and privilege. Yet his eyes, those kind, honest eyes, were exactly the same. "Miss Holt," he said formally, extending his hand, "thank you for your extraordinary work." Serena shook his hand, playing along with the pretense that they were mere business acquaintances. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Gray. Would you mind if I borrowed Miss Holt for a moment?" Lucas asked Wright. "I'd like to discuss commissioning additional work for our educational programs." Of course," Wright said, clearly pleased at the networking opportunity for his new star illustrator. Lucas guided Serena away from the crowd toward a side door that led to a private garden area. Once they were alone, his formal demeanor melted away. "You came," he said softly, relief evident in his voice. "I had to. It's work." "You look beautiful." Serena crossed her arms. "I'm underdressed." "You're perfect," Lucas countered. "And your illustrations. They're breathtaking, Serena. You've captured the soul of this place in a way I've never seen before." Despite her resolve to remain distant, Serena felt herself warming to his praise. "Thank you. Will you walk with me? There's something I want to show you." She hesitated, then nodded. "All right, but I can't stay long." Lucas led her through a series of interconnected gardens, each more magical than the last in the evening light. They walked in silence at first, the tension between them almost palpable. "Victoria came to see me," Serena finally said. Lucas stopped walking. "I know, I saw her leaving your studio. She said you cheated on her, with her best friend." His jaw tightened. "Did you believe her?" "I don't know what to believe anymore, Lucas. Everyone in your life seems to tell a different story about who you are. What does your heart tell you?" he asked quietly. Serena looked away. "My heart has been wrong before." Lucas reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Serena, I never cheated on Victoria. Our engagement was arranged by our families. We both knew it. When I left the company, she used it as an excuse to end things. The story about her best friend was something she made up to save face in her social circle. How do I know that's true? Because I've never lied about how I feel. Not to you." Lucas ran a hand through his hair, messing up its perfect styling. "The man you met at that flower stand, that's who I am. Not this." He gestured to his tuxedo, to the grand gala behind them. Serena wanted to believe him. More than anything, she wanted to trust that what they had was real. But her mother's warnings echoed in her mind. "Money ruins good men. I need to get back to the gala," she said, turning away. "Wait." Lucas touched her arm gently. "We're almost there. Just 5 more minutes. Please." Something in his voice made her pause. 5 minutes. He led her around a curve in the path, and suddenly they were in a small, secluded garden unlike any other part of the conservatory. Wild and untamed, it felt like a secret haven in the midst of the manicured perfection surrounding it. In the center stood a simple wooden bench beneath a flowering dogwood tree. Around it grew dozens of different flowers, not arranged in formal beds, but scattered naturally, as if they had seeded themselves. "What is this place?" Serena asked, drawn to its beauty. "My garden," Lucas said simply. "The only part of the conservatory that's truly mine. I started it when I was 10 years old. My father wanted to tear it out and put in another exotic display, but my mother convinced him to let me keep it." Serena walked among the flowers, recognizing many of them as varieties Lucas sold at his stand. "It's beautiful. It's real," Lucas said, "like what I feel for you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small worn sketchbook. "I want to show you something." Serena took the book, opening it carefully. Inside were drawings, simple, amateur sketches of flowers. Each one was dated, starting from the day they'd first met. "I don't understand," she said, flipping through the pages. "Every flower I've given you," Lucas explained. "I drew them each night, trying to capture what made them special, not very successfully." He laughed self-consciously. "I'm not the artist." "You are." Serena stared at the crude drawings, touched by the sentiment behind them. "Why?" "Because you taught me to see beauty differently. Before I met you, flowers were just flowers. Beautiful, yes, but I never really saw them the way you do, the way you notice every detail, every curve of a petal, every shade of color." Lucas took a step closer. "You've changed how I see the world, Serena." Her heart melted a little at his words, but then she remembered Victoria's visit, Harold's warnings, Eleanor's condescension. "Pretty words, Lucas, but your whole family seems convinced you'll eventually return to the fold. That this," she gestured to his garden, "is just a phase." "They don't know me," Lucas said firmly. "They never have." Before Serena could respond, a voice called from the path behind them. "There you are." Eleanor Gray approached, looking elegant in a midnight blue gown. "Lucas, darling, your father is about to make the announcement. You're needed inside." Eleanor's eyes narrowed when she saw Serena. "Miss Holt, I see you found something suitable to wear after all." Serena lifted her chin. "I did my best, Mrs. Gray." "Indeed." Eleanor turned back to Lucas. "Now, dear, your father is waiting." "What announcement?" Lucas asked, suspicion clear in his voice. "It's a surprise." Eleanor smiled tightly. "For the centennial." Lucas looked at Serena apologetically. "I should see what this is about." "Of course," she said, stepping back. "Go." As Lucas followed his mother back toward the main building, he glanced over his shoulder at Serena. "Wait for me. This won't take long." Serena nodded, though she wasn't sure if she would. Part of her wanted to slip away, to avoid whatever drama the Greys were about to unleash. Instead, she sat on Lucas's bench, leafing through his sketchbook of flowers. Each drawing was accompanied by a small note, the date, the type of flower, and what it symbolized. Daffodil for creativity, rose for beauty, daisy for loyal love. The last page held a drawing of a flower she didn't recognize, a simple bloom with 5 rounded petals. The note read, "Serena's flower, still searching for its name, meaning second chances." Tears welled in her eyes. Despite everything, despite all the doubts and warnings, her heart still recognized the truth when she saw it. The Lucas who had drawn these clumsy, heartfelt sketches was the same man who had handed her a daffodil that first day at his flower stand. Wiping her eyes, Serena made her decision. She would hear Lucas out, give him the chance to explain everything. They would start fresh with complete honesty between them. She stood, smoothed her dress, and headed back toward the gala. The ballroom was packed when Serena returned. Harold Gray stood at a podium on a small stage, microphone in hand, with Lucas and Eleanor positioned behind him. Lucas looked tense, his eyes scanning the crowd. When he spotted Serena, relief washed over his face. She offered a small smile, and he seemed to relax slightly. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harold boomed into the microphone, "thank you all for joining us to celebrate 100 years of Gray Conservatory. What began as my grandfather's humble garden has grown into one of the nation's premier botanical institutions." Polite applause followed this pronouncement. "As we look to the future," Harold continued, "it is time to announce the next chapter in the Gray legacy. Tonight I am proud to announce that my son Lucas will be stepping into the role of Executive Director of Grey Conservatory, effective immediately. Murmurs swept through the crowd. Lucas's face had gone pale. Furthermore, Harold added, raising his glass, we are delighted to announce the Conservatory's partnership with Winters International. This strategic alliance will ensure the Grey Conservatory remains at the forefront of botanical research and conservation for the next 100 years. Victoria stepped onto the stage, taking her place beside Lucas. She slipped her arm through his, smiling radiantly for the cameras that flashed throughout the room. To the future of Grey Conservatory, Harold concluded, raising his glass higher, and to the reunion of two great families. Applause erupted. Serena felt sick. Lucas looked trapped, his eyes locked on hers across the room, desperately trying to communicate something. Victoria leaned in to whisper something in his ear, her hand possessively on his arm. The photographers ate it up, capturing the apparent reconciliation of the former couple. Serena had seen enough. She turned and pushed her way through the crowd toward the exit. "Serena, wait," Lucas called after her, but his voice was lost in the applause and chatter. Outside, the night air felt cool against her flushed skin. Tears threatened, but she held them back. She wouldn't cry over Lucas Grey, not again. "Serena," she turned to see Lucas running after her, breathless. "It's not what you think," he said urgently. "I had no idea about any of that. My father blindsided me." "It doesn't matter," Serena said, her voice steady despite the pain in her chest. "Your family was right all along. You belong in their world, not mine." "That's not true." Lucas reached for her hand. "I don't want any of this. I never have." "Then why are you here? Why did you come tonight, dressed like this, playing the part of the prodigal son?" "Because I had to be." Lucas's frustration was evident. "The board threatened to remove my father if I didn't show support for the centennial. Despite everything he's done, he's still my father." "And Victoria? Was her appearance part of your familial duty too?" "I had nothing to do with that. My father orchestrated the whole thing without telling me." Victoria's voice cut through the night air. "Lucas, darling, your father is looking for you." She appeared in the doorway, a vision in her designer gown, diamonds glittering at her throat. "Not now, Victoria," Lucas said tersely. "Don't be rude, dear." Victoria smiled sweetly at Serena. "Miss Holt, your illustrations are lovely. So quaint." Serena stood straighter. "Thank you. If you'll excuse me, I was just leaving." "No, you weren't," Lucas said firmly. "Victoria, please tell my father I'll be in shortly." Victoria's smile hardened. "Don't take too long. The photographers want more pictures of us together." She turned and went back inside, her displeasure evident in the stiff set of her shoulders. "You see," Serena said once Victoria had gone, "this is your world, Lucas. Formal announcements and strategic alliances and photo opportunities. It's not my world. It never has been." Lucas took both her hands in his. "Serena, I love you. Not Victoria, not this lifestyle, not any of it. Just you." The words hung in the air between them. Serena wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that his love was real, but the evidence of the night suggested otherwise. "Actions speak louder than words," she said softly. "And tonight your actions are telling a different story than your heart. Give me a chance to prove it to you. One chance." Before Serena could respond, the door opened again. This time it was Harold Grey, his expression thunderous. "Lucas, what are you doing out here? The board members are waiting to speak with you about the Winters partnership." "There is no Winters partnership, Dad," Lucas said, his voice stronger than Serena had ever heard it. "And I'm not becoming executive director." Harold's face reddened. "Don't be ridiculous. We've announced it to everyone. The press is here." "Don't care. You made those announcements without my knowledge or consent." "This is not the time for another of your rebellious phases," Harold hissed, grabbing Lucas's arm. "You have responsibilities. To this family, to our legacy." Lucas pulled away from his father's grip. "My only responsibility is to be true to myself, and I can't do that by living the life you've planned for me." Harold's eyes narrowed dangerously. "If you walk away now, that's it. No more safety net, no more trust fund. No more family connections." "Fine by me," Lucas said calmly. "Your little flower stand, the permit will be revoked tomorrow morning." Lucas flinched at that, but held his ground. Then I'll find another corner, another way. Harold turned his cold gaze to Serena. Is she worth throwing away your birthright, this girl who knows nothing about our world? She's worth everything, Lucas said without hesitation. Harold shook his head in disgust. Your grandfather would be ashamed. I certainly... Them? He turned and stormed back into the gala. Lucas let out a long breath as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. I'm sorry you had to witness that. Serena stood in stunned silence, processing what had just happened. Lucas had chosen her over his family, his inheritance, his name. You shouldn't have done that, she finally said. Not for me. I didn't do it for you, Lucas replied. I did it for me. For the life I actually want, not the one my father planned. He took her hand again. But I hope that life includes you, if you'll have me. Before Serena could answer, Eleanor Gray emerged from the building, her face a mask of cold fury. Lucas Gray, you get back in there right now and fix this mess, she demanded. Your father is beside himself. I'm not going back, Mother, Lucas said calmly. I've made my choice. Because of her? Eleanor jabbed a finger toward Serena. This artist with her modest little drawings. You would throw away generations of Gray tradition for a fling. She's not a fling, Lucas said firmly. I love her. Eleanor laughed, a brittle sound. Love? You don't even know what the word means. Your father and I have given you everything. Except the freedom to choose my own path, Lucas interrupted. That's all I've ever wanted. And what path is that? Selling flowers on a street corner like some penniless immigrant? You're a Gray. Not anymore, Lucas said quietly. Not if that's what it takes to live honestly. Eleanor's face paled. You don't mean that. I do. Lucas's voice was gentle but firm. I'm sorry, Mother. I can't be who you and Dad want me to be. Eleanor looked from Lucas to Serena and back again. You'll regret this, she said, her voice shaking with emotion. When the novelty wears off, when you realize what you've thrown away, don't come crawling back to us. With that, she turned and walked back into the gala, her back ramrod straight. Lucas let out a long breath. Well, that's that. Serena looked at him in disbelief. You just gave up everything. Your family, your inheritance, your name. Not everything, Lucas said, gazing at her with such tenderness that Serena felt her heart might burst. Not if I still have you. But your flower stand, your father said he'd revoke the permit. I'll figure something out. Lucas smiled, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. I'm pretty good with flowers, you know. Despite everything, Serena found herself smiling back. So I've heard. Lucas took her hands in his. Serena Holt, I've been falling in love with you since the day you first walked past my flower stand. Not because you're beautiful, though you are. Not because you're talented, though you're extraordinary. But because you see the world with such clarity, such honesty. You've taught me to be brave enough to live truthfully. Tears filled Serena's eyes, but this time they were tears of joy, not pain. I love you too, she whispered. But Lucas, are you sure about this? Your family will either come around or they won't, he said firmly. But I won't live a lie anymore. Not for them, not for anyone. He leaned down and kissed her, a kiss full of promise and new beginnings. When they pulled apart, Serena felt as if her heart might overflow with happiness. Now what? She asked, a little breathless. Lucas glanced back at the glittering gala, then at Serena in her simple black dress. The choice was clear in his eyes. Now we walk away from all this, he said, taking her hand. Together. As they walked through the gardens toward the exit, a voice called out from behind them. Lucas, wait! They turned to see Eleanor hurrying. After them, something clutched in her hands. To Serena's surprise, there were tears in the older woman's eyes. Mom? Lucas asked, concerned. Eleanor thrust a large manila envelope at him. Take this. What is it? Deed to the North Corner property, Eleanor said, her voice thick with emotion. 5 acres. It belonged to your grandfather before the conservatory expanded. It's still in the family name, but separate from the main holdings. Lucas stared at the envelope in confusion. Why are you giving me this? Because you're my son, Eleanor said simply. And while I don't understand your choices, I don't want to lose you completely. She straightened her shoulders, regaining some of her usual composure. The land has good soil. If you insist on growing flowers instead of running a proper business, at least you'll have a decent place to do it. Lucas was speechless. Serena squeezed his hand in support. "Thank you, Mother," he finally managed. Eleanor nodded, curtly, then turned her attention to Serena. "Miss Holt, my son seems determined to choose you over everything he's been raised to value." "Mrs. Gray?" Serena began. "I'm not finished," Eleanor interrupted. "If you break his heart, you'll answer to me. Is that clear?" Despite the threat, Serena saw something new in the older woman's eyes, a grudging respect, perhaps even the beginnings of acceptance. "Very clear," Serena replied. Eleanor nodded once more, then turned to go. She paused, looking back over her shoulder. "Sunday dinner is at 7, Lucas. You're both expected to attend. Don't be late." With that, she walked back toward the gala, leaving Lucas and Serena staring after her in astonishment. "Did that just happen?" Serena asked in disbelief. Lucas laughed, the sound full of joy and relief. "I think my mother just gave us her blessing, in her own twisted way." "And land to grow flowers?" 5 acres of the best soil in the county, Lucas confirmed, looking at the deed in wonder. Enough to start a real flower farm. The future suddenly stretched before them, full of possibilities. A flower farm instead of a street corner stand. A chance for Lucas to create something of his own, separate from his family's legacy, but still honoring his love for growing things. "What are you thinking?" Lucas asked, watching Serena's face. "I'm thinking about all the beautiful things we could grow there," she said honestly, "and how I'd love to draw every single one of them." Lucas smiled, wrapping his arm around her waist. "We'll grow them together, and you'll make them immortal with your art." As they walked away from the gala, from the Gray Conservatory and all its complicated history, Serena felt a peace she hadn't known in years. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with honesty, with love, and with the simple beauty of flowers to guide their way. But as they reached the main gate, a strange car pulled up. A tall, elegant woman stepped out, her familiar features causing Serena to stop in her tracks. "Mum?" she gasped. "What are you doing here?" Vivian Holt approached them, her eyes fixed on Lucas with unmistakable suspicion. "I got your message about the gala. I decided to see for myself what kind of man has captured my daughter's heart." Lucas extended his hand. "Mrs. Holt, I'm Lucas Gray. It's a pleasure to meet you." Vivian ignored his hand. "Gray, as in the family that owns this place?" "Yes, ma'am," Lucas admitted. "Though at the moment, my connection to that name is complicated." Vivian's eyes narrowed. "Rich men with complicated family situations are exactly what I warned my daughter about." "Mom, please," Serena began. "It's all right," Lucas said gently. "Your mother has every right to be concerned." He turned to Vivian. "Mrs. Holt, I understand your worries, but I promise you, my intentions toward your daughter are honorable. I love her." "Love?" Vivian scoffed. "Serena's father claimed to love us too, until something better came along." "I'm not Serena's father," Lucas said firmly, "and I just walked away from my family's fortune to be with her. I don't want money or status. I just want to grow flowers and make Serena happy if she'll let me." Vivian seemed taken aback by his directness. "You walked away from all this?" She gestured to the magnificent conservatory behind them. "He did, Mom," Serena confirmed, taking Lucas's hand. "For me. For us." Vivian studied their joined hands, her expression softening slightly. "Well, that's unexpected. Why don't you join us for coffee?" Serena suggested. "We have a lot to talk about." Vivian hesitated, then nodded. "I'd like that." As they walked to Vivian's car, Lucas whispered in Serena's ear, "Is your mother always this intimidating?" "Always," Serena whispered back with a smile. "But she'll warm up to you eventually." Lucas squeezed her hand. "I'm a patient man, and I'm not going anywhere." Looking up at him, this man who had chosen love over wealth, honesty over pretense, Serena believed him completely. For the first time since her father had abandoned them, she trusted that love could be real, lasting, and true. The road ahead might not be easy, but they would walk it together, step by step, flower by flower. 6 months had passed since the night of the gala. Autumn had painted the countryside in rich golds and reds, and a crisp breeze rustled through the fields of the newly established Serena's Bloom Flower Farm. Lucas stood on the porch of the small farmhouse, coffee mug in hand, watching the sunrise over 5 acres of thriving flower beds. They had worked tirelessly through the summer, planting, weeding, building, transforming the overgrown plot of land into something beautiful. The screen door creaked open behind him, and Serena stepped out, wrapping her arms around his waist and resting her cheek against his back. "Good morning," she murmured sleepily. Lucas turned to face her, planting a kiss on her forehead. "Good morning, beautiful. Sleep well?" She took his coffee mug and sipped from it. "I was dreaming about next spring's planting. I think we should add more sunflowers along the eastern fence line." "Whatever you want," Lucas said, smiling at her enthusiasm. "It's your farm too." The name Serena's Bloom had been his surprise gift to her when they'd first started clearing the land. She had protested at first, insisting it was his property and should bear his name. But Lucas had been adamant. This was their fresh start, their joint venture, and he wanted her name on it. "What time are the landscapers coming?" Serena asked, leaning against the porch railing. "Around 9. They'll start marking out the pathways for the public garden today." Lucas joined her at the railing, looking out over their land. "Are you sure about this? Opening part of the farm to visitors is a big step." Serena nodded confidently. "It's perfect. We'll keep the growing fields private, but the display gardens will be open to the public 3 days a week. And we can use the old barn as a shop for your flowers and my prints." The idea had been hers, to create a smaller, more intimate version of Grey Conservatory, but one built on honesty and accessibility rather than prestige and exclusivity. A place where people could come to enjoy the beauty of flowers without the formality of the Grey family's establishment. "My mother called yesterday," Lucas said, changing the subject. "She wants to know if we're coming to Sunday dinner this week." Serena gave him a knowing look. "And are we?" I told her yes. Lucas shrugged. She's trying, Serena, in her own way. The relationship with Lucas's parents had been strained but not broken. Harold Grey had initially refused to speak to his son after the gala, but Eleanor had maintained contact, visiting the farm occasionally and even bringing heirloom plant cuttings from the conservatory's collection. "And your father?" "Still not speaking to me directly," Lucas admitted. "But Mom says he asks about the farm. That's progress, I guess." Serena squeezed his hand supportively. She knew how much the estrangement hurt him, despite his brave face. "What about your mom?" Lucas asked. "Will she be here this weekend?" Serena smiled. "She's arriving Friday. Says she can't wait to see how the lavender field turned out." To everyone's surprise, Vivian Holt and Eleanor Grey had developed an unlikely friendship. After a rocky start, with Vivian making it clear she didn't trust wealthy families, the two mothers had bonded over their shared love for their children and their mutual passion for gardening. "We should get dressed," Serena said, glancing at her watch. "The delivery truck with the shop furniture will be here soon." As they turned to go inside, Lucas's phone rang. He checked the screen and frowned. "It's Victoria." Serena tensed slightly, but nodded for him to answer. Victoria Winters had eventually accepted Lucas's decision to leave the family business, though she still made occasional attempts to lure him back. "Victoria," Lucas answered, putting the call on speaker out of respect for Serena. "What can I do for you?" "Lucas, darling," Victoria's voice dripped with false sweetness. "I've just heard the most distressing news. Your father has called an emergency board meeting at the conservatory. I thought you should know." Lucas and Serena exchanged concerned glances. "What's it about?" He wouldn't say exactly, but there are rumors. Victoria paused dramatically. "Rumors that he's planning to sell controlling interest in Grey Conservatory to overseas investors." "What?" Lucas straightened, his grip on the phone tightening. "He can't do that. The conservatory has been in our family for generations. Apparently he can and he will. Unless someone stops him." Victoria's implication was clear. "The meeting is at noon today. Just thought you might want to be there." After she hung up, Lucas stood frozen, processing the news. "Do you think she's telling the truth?" Serena asked. Gently. About the sale. It could be. Lucas ran a hand through his hair in frustration. My father's been making increasingly erratic business decisions since I left. The board has been concerned. Are you going to go to the meeting? Lucas hesitated. I don't know. I walked away from all that. I have no right to interfere now. You have every right, Serena said firmly. The conservatory is your heritage too, and regardless of your differences with your father, I know you still care about what happens to it. But the landscapers, the delivery, I can handle all. That, Serena assured him. Go. Find out what's happening. You'll regret it if you don't. Lucas pulled her into a tight embrace. What did I do to deserve you? You were honest, she said simply, when it mattered most. The grey conservatory looked exactly as Lucas remembered it, majestic glass domes rising above meticulously maintained gardens. But today, as he walked through the administrative entrance, it felt different, foreign somehow. The receptionist did a double take when she saw him. Mr. Gray, we weren't expecting you. I'm here for the board meeting, Lucas said with more confidence than he felt. Is it in the main conference room? Yes, sir, they've just started. Lucas nodded his thanks and headed down the familiar corridor. His heart raced as he approached the conference room doors. 6 months ago, he had walked away from this place, from his family name and fortune. Now, he was walking back in, not as the prodigal son returning home, but as a man standing up for what was right. He pushed open the doors without knocking. Inside, the board members sat around the long mahogany table, with Harold Gray at the head. All eyes turned to Lucas as he entered. What is he doing here? Harold demanded, rising from his chair. I invited him, came a voice from the corner. Eleanor Gray stepped forward, her chin raised defiantly. As a major shareholder, he has every right to be present. I gave up my shares when I left, Lucas reminded her, confused. No, you didn't, Eleanor said firmly. You never signed the paperwork. Legally, you still own 15% of Gray Conservatory. Harold's face reddened. This is preposterous. He abandoned his responsibilities. He has no say here. Actually, Harold, said an older board member, your wife is correct. Lucas remains a significant shareholder. He has every right to be heard. Lucas took an empty seat at the table. I understand you're planning to sell controlling interest in the conservatory. Is that true? A murmur ran through the board members. Harold glared at him. Our financial dealings are none of your concern. You made that clear when you chose to play farmer with your artist. Lucas refused to take the bait. The conservatory has been in our family for 100 years. You've always said it was our legacy, our responsibility to future generations. What changed? Times change, Harold said dismissively. The offer from Global Gardens Corporation is substantial. They'll maintain the conservatory name while bringing in needed capital. And strip it of everything that makes it special, Lucas countered. Global Gardens is known for turning botanical gardens into commercial tourist traps. Is that what you want for your father's legacy? For your grandfather's? Harold slammed his hand on the table. Don't you dare lecture me about legacy. You threw away yours for a flower stand and a pretty face. I chose to live honestly, Lucas said, keeping his voice calm, something this family has struggled with for generations. He turned to address the entire board. You all know about the financial scandal last year. My father misappropriated conservation funds to cover personal losses. It was hushed up, but it happened. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Harold's face went from red to white. How dare you? He began. It's time for the truth, Dad. Lucas interrupted. The conservatory almost went bankrupt because of your actions. Is that why you're selling now? To cover up more financial misconduct? Eleanor stepped forward. Lucas, that's enough. No, Mom, it's not. Lucas stood firm. If we're going to save the conservatory, we need to be honest about what's happening. Here. Harold sank back into his chair, suddenly looking old and defeated. You don't understand. The finances, they're worse than anyone knows. I've been trying to fix things to protect our name. By selling our heritage to the highest bidder, Lucas shook his head. That's not protection. That's surrender. What would you have me do? Harold asked bitterly. We need an influx of capital. The endowment is nearly depleted. Lucas took a deep breath. This was the moment he'd been dreading and preparing for since Victoria's call. "I have a proposal," he said, pulling a folder from his bag. "A partnership between Grey Conservatory and Serena's Bloom." The board members looked at him with surprise and curiosity. "Our farm has been generating significant revenue through specialty blooms and sustainable growing practices. We've secured backing from several environmental organizations impressed with our methods." Lucas distributed copies of his proposal around the table. This partnership would bring fresh capital to the conservatory while maintaining family control. "You expect us to partner with your little hobby farm?" Harold scoffed. "It's not a hobby, Dad. It's a successful business. One built on honest work and sustainable practices." Lucas met his father's gaze steadily. "And it's offering to save what you've worked your whole life to build." Eleanor took a copy of the proposal, scanning it quickly. This could work." "Harold, there's more," Lucas continued. "Serena's illustrations of the conservatory have attracted significant attention in the art world. We're proposing a permanent exhibition space within the conservatory, a gallery showcasing botanical art that would attract a new audience and additional revenue." One of the board members nodded approvingly. "I saw her work in City Life. Extraordinary talent." "She is extraordinary," Lucas agreed. "And she believes in preserving the conservatory as much as I do." Harold looked skeptical, but took a copy of the proposal. "This would mean working together, after everything that's happened." "Yes," Lucas said simply. "It would." A heavy silence fell over the room as Harold read through the documents. Finally, he looked up, his expression unreadable. "The terms are better than Global Gardens offer," he admitted reluctantly. "But why would you do this? After I threatened to disown you, to revoke your permits, to cut you off completely?" Lucas smiled slightly. "Because despite everything, you're still my father, and the conservatory is still part of who I am, even if I've chosen a different path." Eleanor placed a hand on her husband's shoulder. "Harold, it's time to accept that our son has found his own way, a good way." Harold looked from his wife to his son, decades of pride and stubbornness warring with the practical reality before him. Finally, he gave a curt nod. "The board will need to review this proposal properly," he said stiffly. "But I withdraw my recommendation regarding the Global Gardens offer. It wasn't forgiveness or acceptance, not yet, but it was a start." "Thank you," Lucas said simply. As the meeting concluded, Eleanor pulled Lucas aside. "That was quite an entrance, son. I learned from the best," he said with a small smile. "How did you know I'd come?" "Victoria called me after she called you." Eleanor's eyes twinkled with mischief. "We may have coordinated our efforts." Lucas stared at his mother in shock. "You and Victoria worked together to get me here." Victoria has always understood the importance of family legacy, even if her methods are sometimes questionable. Eleanor straightened Lucas's collar in a maternal gesture. "And I've come to understand the importance of happiness, even when it doesn't follow the path I'd planned." "Dad doesn't seem convinced yet." "He'll come around," Eleanor assured him. "Your father is stubborn, but he's not blind. What you've built with Serena, it's quite remarkable." "She's remarkable," Lucas corrected. "Yes, she is." Eleanor looked thoughtful. "You know, I called her yesterday to discuss flower arrangements for the winter gala. She has quite impressive knowledge for someone who didn't grow up in the business." Lucas smiled proudly. "She's been studying, we both have, learning from each other." "Well, I expect both of you at Sunday dinner," Eleanor said firmly. "No excuses. Your father and I will have reviewed the proposal by then." As Lucas left the conservatory, he felt a strange mix of emotions. He hadn't expected to find himself fighting for the very institution he'd walked away from 6 months ago. Yet somehow, it felt right. Not a return to his old life, but a bridge between past and future. When Lucas returned to the farm that evening, he found Serena in the barn they were converting into a shop. She was arranging her framed illustrations on one wall while workmen installed shelving on another. "How did it go?" she asked as soon as she saw him. Lucas wrapped his arms around her waist, lifting her off her feet in a jubilant hug. "They're considering our proposal. My father actually listened. Serena's eyes widened. You presented the partnership idea. Today. It was the right moment. Lucas set her down gently. My father was desperate, the board was concerned, and I had a solution that could work for everyone. What did he say? He didn't throw me out, which is progress. Lucas smiled wryly. My mother says they'll have reviewed it by Sunday dinner, which we are apparently required to attend. Serena laughed. Your mother called me yesterday about flower arrangements. I should have known she was up to something. Apparently she and Victoria have been conspiring. Lucas shook his head in disbelief. The world has gone mad. Or maybe it's finally making sense. Serena took his hand, leading him outside to see the progress on the pathways. The landscapers finished marking everything. What do you think? Lucas looked out over their land, at the neat flower beds, the marked pathways, the small greenhouse they'd built together. In the distance, the spires of Grey Conservatory were just visible on the horizon. Two worlds connected yet distinct. I think it's perfect, he said honestly. Everything we've dreamed of. Serena squeezed his hand. I'm proud of you for going. Today. For trying to save your family's legacy. Our legacy now, Lucas corrected her, if they accept the partnership. They will, Serena said confidently. Your father may be stubborn, but he's not stupid. Our proposal makes sense financially and emotionally. Lucas looked at her with wonder. When did you get so wise about business matters? I've been reading, Serena admitted with a smile, and your mother has been surprisingly forthcoming about the conservatory's operations. I think she's been grooming me. Grooming you. For what? To be a proper Grey, I think. Serena laughed at Lucas's expression. Don't worry. I've made it clear that while I respect your family traditions, we're building something different here. Lucas pulled her close. Have I told you today how much I love you? Not in the last few hours, Serena teased. I might need a reminder. He kissed her softly, then with growing passion. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathless. Was that reminder enough? Lucas asked with a grin. It's a good start, Serena replied, her eyes twinkling. Sunday dinner at the Grey Mansion was tense but civil. Harold remained formal, addressing most of his comments to Eleanor rather than directly to Lucas or Serena. But he didn't object when Lucas detailed the progress at Serena's bloom or when Serena showed Eleanor her newest illustrations. As dessert was served, Harold finally broke his silence on the matter that hung over the table. The board has reviewed your proposal, he said, setting down his fork with precision. They find the terms acceptable. Lucas and Serena exchanged surprised glances. They had expected negotiations, counteroffers, not outright acceptance. That's wonderful, Lucas said cautiously. There are conditions, Harold continued. You will need to take a more active role in conservatory operations. Not as executive director. That position will go to someone with appropriate qualifications, but as a board member representing the partnership interests. I can do that, Lucas agreed. And we would like Serena to oversee the new gallery space, Eleanor added warmly. Her artistic eye would be invaluable. Serena nodded, touched by the inclusion. I'd be honored. The Serena's Bloom name will remain separate from Grey Conservatory, Harold stipulated. But in all marketing materials, the partnership will be acknowledged. Two distinct entities working together. Just like us, Lucas said softly to Serena. Harold cleared his throat. There's one more thing. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box, sliding it across the table to Lucas. This belonged to my mother. She would have wanted you to have it. Lucas opened the box to reveal an antique emerald ring, its green stone surrounded. 5 tiny diamonds, Dad, he began, emotion choking his voice. You'll need it sooner or later, Harold said gruffly. If you're going to make this partnership work in all respects. It was as close to a blessing as Harold Grey could manage. Acknowledgement that Lucas and Serena's relationship was real, lasting, and now part of the Grey family future. Thank you, Lucas said, his voice thick with feeling. Harold nodded once, then turned the conversation to safer topics. The weather, the upcoming holiday season, the new exhibits planned for the winter. Later, as they drove back to the farm under a canopy of stars, Serena rested her head on Lucas's shoulder. "How your father gave you a ring," she said, still processing the evening's events. "He did." Lucas smiled in the darkness. "My grandmother's ring. Is that significant?" "Very. It's been passed down through generations of grey women. My mother wears my great-grandmother's ring. This one skipped a generation from my grandmother directly to, well, to you, eventually." Serena's heart skipped a beat. "To me? If you'll have it." Lucas pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned to face her. "This isn't how I planned to do this. I had ideas involving your favorite flowers and sunset views." "Lucas," Serena whispered, realizing what was happening. He took her, hands in his. "Serena Holt, you walked into my life and changed everything. You taught me the courage to be true to myself, to stand up for what I believe in. You've shown me that love doesn't have to come with conditions or expectations. It can simply be real and honest and true." Lucas reached into his pocket and pulled out the ring box. "I don't want to wait for sooner or later. I want forever with you, starting now. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Serena's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, 1,000 times, yes." The emerald gleamed in the moonlight as Lucas slipped it onto her finger. It fit perfectly, as if it had been made for her all along. "I love you," he whispered, kissing her softly. "I love you too," she replied. "All of you, the flower seller, the grey air, and every part in between." The following spring, Serena's bloom opened its gates to the public for the first time. Visitors strolled along peaceful pathways between vibrant flower beds, marveling at the beauty Lucas and Serena had created together. In the converted barn, now a charming shop and gallery, Serena's illustrations hung alongside fresh bouquets and potted plants. The centerpiece was a series depicting the changing seasons at Grey Conservatory, a visual celebration of the partnership between the two establishments. "It's perfect," Vivian Holt said, standing beside her daughter as they watched visitors. "Explore the gardens. Your father would have been so proud." "Do you think so?" Serena asked, touching the locket around her neck that contained his picture. "I know so." Vivian squeezed her hand. "He always said you had a gift for finding beauty in unexpected places." Across the garden, Lucas was deep in conversation with his father. The relationship remained somewhat formal, but the shared work of the partnership had created a new foundation for mutual respect. "You've done well here," Harold admitted, looking around at the thriving farm. "It's different from what I envisioned for you, but impressive in its own way." "Thank you, Dad," Lucas said, knowing how much those words had cost his father's pride. "That means a lot." Harold nodded stiffly, then softened slightly. "Your mother says the wedding is set for June?" "Yes. Here, among the flowers." Lucas smiled. "We'd like you to be part of it, both of you." "Well," Harold straightened his already impeccable tie, "I suppose that's what fathers do. Walk their daughters-in-law down the aisle when their own fathers can't." Lucas stared at his father in shock. "You'd walk Serena down the aisle?" "She mentioned her father is gone," Harold said gruffly. "Someone should do it properly, might as well be me." Before Lucas could respond to this unexpected gesture, Serena approached them, her engagement ring catching the sunlight. "The reporter from City Life is here for the interview about the partnership," she told them. "They want photos of both grey men together with the flower farm heiress." She rolled her eyes at the nickname the magazine had given her. "Well, we shouldn't keep them waiting," Harold said, straightening his shoulders. "Appearances matter." As they walked together toward the waiting photographer, Lucas slipped his arm around Serena's waist. "Are you happy?" he whispered in her ear. Serena looked around at the garden they had built, at the visitors enjoying its beauty, at their families coming together despite all odds. "More than I ever thought possible," she replied honestly. In the distance, the glass domes of Grey Conservatory gleamed in the spring sunshine, a reminder of the heritage they were preserving while creating something new and uniquely their own. Like the flowers they grew together, their love had blossomed from unexpected beginnings into something beautiful, resilient, and true. It had weathered storms of doubt and deception to emerge stronger, rooted in honesty and trust. As Lucas kissed her amid the flowers, Serena knew with absolute certainty that they had found that rarest of blooms, a love that would continue to grow and flourish through all the seasons of their lives. That evening, after the visitors had gone and the farm was quiet, Lucas led Serena to a special corner of their land, a small garden hidden behind a row of flowering trees. "What is this?" Serena asked, looking around in wonder. "I don't remember planting here." "Because I did it," Lucas said with a shy smile. "When you were visiting your mother last month, the small garden was filled with dozens of different flowers, one of each variety Lucas had ever given her, from the very first daffodil to the most recent rose. In the center stood a simple wooden bench beneath a young dogwood tree, a mirror image of his special place at the conservatory. "Lucas," Serena breathed, taking it all in. "This is our place," he said, leading her to the bench. "No gray legacy, no business partnerships, no family complications, just us." From his pocket, Lucas pulled out the small sketchbook she had seen months ago at the gala. He opened it to reveal a new drawing, a simple 5-petaled flower. "Remember this? I was searching for Serena's flower, a bloom that captured your essence." She nodded, touched that he had continued the project. "I finally found it," Lucas said, turning to the last page. There, pressed between the pages, was a delicate white flower with 5 rounded petals and a golden center. "It's called illumination. It symbolizes clarity, honesty, and enduring love." "It's beautiful," Serena said, gently touching the pressed flower. "Like you." Lucas took her hand, the one bearing his grandmother's ring. "This is my promise to you, Serena Holt. No more secrets, no more half-truths, just honest love every day for the rest of our lives." As the setting sun cast golden light over their special garden, Serena and Lucas sealed their promise with a kiss. Two people who had found each other against all odds, who had chosen truth over pretense, and who would continue to grow together, bloom by bloom, day by day, for all the seasons to come. In the distance, Grey Conservatory stood as a monument to tradition and legacy. Here in their own corner of the world, Serena's bloom represented something equally powerful. The beauty that comes from starting fresh, from building something new with honest hands and open hearts. Two worlds, different yet complementary. Just like the flower seller and the artist who had found love amid the blooms. The end.